Unless specifically indicated otherwise, the content expressed are my views only and not necessarily those of Life Pro Asset Management, LLC. The content presented is in no way an investment advice, solicitation, or an offer to sell securities or investment advisory services. The material is provided for general information and educational purposes based upon publicly available information from sources believed to be reliable. I cannot assure the accuracy or completeness of these materials. As such, the information in these materials may change at any time without notice. Reference to these discussions about IULs and annuities or fixed insurance products. Investments on fixed insurance products are different from investments in the stock market. Any guarantees provided by a fixed insurance product cannot be assumed to be guaranteed for any other investment.
Welcome to the Rock My Finances show on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV, where we put the fun in finance. Join Powerhouse Jennifer Jose, CDFA, CMC, and Private Wealth Advisor, as she collaborates with you to create clarity, control, and confidence with your money, your way. It's not about the zeros, so what is it all about? Let's find out. Now here's your host and weekly friend, Jennifer Jose.
Your money, your way. I know that seems very odd to say or even to think about. What do you think about creating your own reality? Have you heard of that? Have you heard of a law of attraction? Have you heard of what we think can actually manifest? So I do share with all of my clients, thoughts create and words manifest. So I'll say that again, thoughts create and words manifest. I'm a big believer of law of attraction. And today I'm so excited to bring on my amazing friend, Miss Petalyn Swart, and she is going to share all her tips and tricks that she shares with her clients on law of attraction as well. My soul sister, Miss Petalyn.
Hey, hi. So happy to be a guest on your show all by myself. I get you all by myself. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to have a really good time today. I love it. So those of you who have not heard, Miss Petalyn is a guest on Soul Sisters episodes. So please check out those on the Rock My Finances show, because she is on monthly with our other sisters as well. So we're in a group then. This is all Petalyn's day. I get to interview her. And I just want you all to know, she just said, I can ask whatever I want.
We get to geek out together.
We get to geek out together. Okay, so I heard of law of attraction because I'm in sales, right? So they always mention that in sales way back when, probably late 1990s or something. I don't even know when The Secret came out, but I was into it a little bit before that. And vision boards, journaling, mantras, visualizing, that kind of a thing. And then The Secret came out and made it all worldwide and doable mainstream, and talkable, kind of. Mainstream. There you go. Mainstream. And I love Oprah for everything that she's always brought to us. She saved me thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in therapy when her show was on, for sure. And I think that she brought that law of attraction to life for me, because she used the words on a weekly basis in her show. And so I could actually bring it into my world. Now we have just exponentially expanded it to so much more. So I'm going to start from the get-go. What would you say law of attraction is?
I think that's a really good question, because as you were just speaking, I was thinking to myself, it has gone so mainstream in a sense that I think that there is a sense that we all are supposed to know what it is. And we've sort of gone to the other side where, wait, okay, I get the concept, but how do I do it? Or, and nobody's really talking about that too much, with the exception of like Abraham Hicks and, people like that who really brought law of attraction into, I think, really popularized it in piggybacking with people like Oprah and so on, I know my days of thank God for sales. Sales really is one of those professions that really asks us to get our heads straight, get our priorities right, get our values right. Not saying that everybody in sales has their values, right? but it invites us to at least try to develop ourselves and get into personal development and so on, because it's a competitive business. And so you really have to know your whys and your reasons and your wherefores, right? So law of attraction, for me, is pretty much what everybody thinks, I guess. On the one side, it's how do I behave? How do I think? What do I need to do to attract the things that I want in my life? Right? Basically, that's it. So what do I need to do in order to attract the things I want in my life? And that's that old paradigm, or I call it an old paradigm. What do I have to do in order to have what I want, in order to be what I want, right? And I think I think it was on Soul Sisters, one of the episodes back, I mentioned that for many years now, I wanted to reverse that. And so what do I have to be so that I can figure out what I already have, so that I can build on, so that I can then figure out what it is that I need to do so that my actions are more mainstream and you're not basically, just using buckshot, you're doing by doing a million things, right? So yeah, it's really the idea of what is it that I need to do, or in my estimations, what is it that I have to be in order to figure out, who is it that I am in order to figure out what I already have that I can build on to be who I want to, to have what I want to have. Yeah, that's it.
I love that. I love that. Who I want. I need to write that down. You're just reversing it, which I absolutely love. And that's what they all tell us, right? We have to believe it before we can see it.
Yes,
versus
absolutely.
I'll believe it when I see it. That's old. It's not going to happen. It will absolutely not happen. We have to believe that it's there. It's coming. And here's where my money, my money shot comes in, or whatever it's called, my money part of it, because I get my clients to feel that they deserve it, because that actually stops way back in, right? We can visualize all we want. But if we visualize what we want, then we come back and we're like, yeah, but that's never going to happen. Or I really don't deserve that because no, way back when, or money doesn't grow on trees, or you got to work hard to make money, or whatever all those beliefs are. It stops it way back here. So just visualizing it and doing a vision board and doing your mantras is not it. Like you said, who am I?
Yeah.
So it's not about what I'm doing. It's who am I being in order to. If you think you want this, well, who am I being to get this? Is that really going to even happen? Does this person even want this? So let's go back to who am I being? I love that.
Well, okay, it's also about updating who we are, right? I mean, we have an image of ourselves, and sometimes it's 20, 15 years old. And, we've
my body is definitely 20 years younger in my head. I can tell you that right now.
Right. Our priorities do shift and change. Our realities do shift and change. We learn so much every decade, and we have to be willing to make room for the things that we have learned that can serve us moving forward, not the things that limit us, but the things that actually serve us, how we know what we know for ourselves. Right. And to your point, it's like our thoughts direct the energy. It directs the frequency, but it's our emotions that attract. So that's why we always say in law of attraction, you can't attract it if you're not feeling it. It requires the emotional component in order to manifest whatever you want. But it's the emotions that actually attract. There's a cohesiveness that an alignment between your brain and your heart. When you are in alignment, when you have when you're very clear about what you want, you're very clear, not so much about deserving, because deserving can get into a whole other can of worms, right? And at some level, most people struggle with deservingness. And I have trouble with it because I think that's another catchphrase that we use, and everybody's supposed to know exactly what that means. And most people don't feel deserving on some level, but they don't want to admit that. So that's not a conversation they ever have. So they never actually open that up to look at it and go, okay, So not so much from deserving, but just from basically we are a control room, right? We are a control room. One massive lever is our thoughts. Another massive lever is our emotional dial. Another massive lever is how we execute, how we expend energy. In other words, what we do, what our yield is. That moniker that I use, MONEY, my own natural energy yield, right? Yeah. And with our actions. So it helps to kind of just dial it down to just that. What am I thinking? and what frequency am I putting out by my emotions, you know? And I think that for me, I'm always looking for, well, what's the bottom line? What's the simplest way I can look at it that kind of takes care of everything else, you know? And for me, it's about every action, every thought, every feeling, every judgment carries a frequency, like a radio frequency, an actual frequency. It generates an electromagnetic field, and there is a frequency to that. And so when I think of my actions and my words and my thoughts, I am not judging what they are. I am asking myself, what frequency is that? So I take myself out of the judging business of myself, you know, and my thoughts, and I attack it from the frequency. You know what I mean? So it sort of bypasses the judging mind and the self-deprecating mind and all of that. And it just simply addresses it. Is this frequency useful? Is this helping me? Where do I want to live in my own head? How do I want to feel? Do you know? So it kind of, I'm sorry, I'm talking a lot right now, but it kind of,
keep going.
It kind of, you know, in terms of religiosity and, you know, the concept of sin, I thought to myself, once I kind of grasped that, you know, it's about the frequency, then it brought a whole other take on the concept of sin. In other words, it's not about, well, you know, the church says this and it should, you know, this shouldn't be a sin and that shouldn't be a sin. And it's honestly my own feeling about it. And this is not in line with any church whatsoever. I would be heretical, but
Reverend
really,
Petalyn.
right. But it's really about, making an assessment. Does this action raise my frequency or does it diminish it? You know, that's really what it's about. Like, if you want to do something and it may be morally questionable, you know, okay, that's one thing. Like, you know, if you want to have an affair, for instance, one of these things that are really compelling, right? And you know it might not be a good thing, but at the same time you feel compelled, right? Exactly. So it's who is it hurting? That he's unhappy anyway, whatever it might be. You might not be able to really pull yourself out of that mindset, attacking it from, you know, reason. Well, you know, he's unhappy. We love each other. Blah blah blah. He's going to leave his wife. Whatever it might be. This is just a scenario, you know, that I pulled out of my hat, right? But if you think of it, if you have a life and a plan and a goal for your life, and you think of it in terms of frequency, what am I attracting by the frequency that I will be involved in, that I will be generating by doing something like this? You know, we can't lie to ourselves. Put it that way. Okay, we might be able to justify things all day long, but we really can't lie to ourselves. Our system knows what we're doing and the effect of it on our system, and it will produce a frequency. So, you know, if you have goals in your life and so on, and that's more important to you ultimately, no matter how attracted you are, then maybe it's enough to have you go, you know what? I don't want to diminish my frequency. And even if we do have a relationship in the future, I want it to be of the highest frequency, the highest vibration possible. You know?
Okay, so here's a good question for you then. On the frequency levels, joy and bliss and all of that is at the top of the frequencies, right? Like that's what
joy and bliss. I would say spiritual love.
Okay.
I also would say the way I look at love is that it is actually a frequency that we can attain, and we as human beings experience that as the emotion of love.
For
that
any
is spiritual
and everything.
love.
It could be anything. It could be the cat, the husband, the affair guy, the family, the car, the whatever feeling of joy and love inside of you is a certain frequency.
Exactly. But there are many different frequencies. Like, you know, lust love is not the same as spiritual love. It's a different frequency.
So what if that guy is my spiritual soulmate?
So it's really about intentionality, and it's about bearing it up to us to the highest level frequency you can, the highest level, the highest standard, for want of a better word, right? Again, you can't fool yourself.
Right.
If you are compromising yourself in any way whatsoever, that will lower the frequency.
Right.
You can have the best of intentions. You can be very much in love. It can feel like the best thing possible. But if you're doing something or behaving in a way with him or by yourself or whatever, in a way that you subconsciously, that will lower the frequency.
Just
The
that.
potential, exactly.
Yes.
The potential is completely high as long as it's all above board or whatever, and you're acting in complete integrity, in alignment with your best self, right? Then it's fine. You can't help your feelings. You can't help loving who you love. But if you compromise yourself in any way, that will affect the frequency and lower it. Right.
Okay. So here's a question. Like you said, the differences between the thoughts and the emotions. Thinking something creates an emotion.
Yes.
Okay. Sure. And I hate Petalyn Swart because that's really sure with like a whole paragraph after it. Y'all, she just classified me. What's that? Pacified me. No. She just with her sure. Just so you know, she's got a whole lot to say about that. We're gonna go back to that.
I was gonna say the reverse is true too, right? Emotions
create thoughts.
Yeah.
Okay. Reverse is true too. Okay. No.
So what if something happens to you, somebody runs into you and you have a fender bender?
But the thought is there first.
No, the shock is there first.
Oh my God, I could get killed. I could be hurt. Am I okay? My insurance is going to go up. No, to give you that emotion.
No, that happened. Well, maybe that's true for you. I would argue that we are physical creatures, and on a creature level, our body responds first. Our nervous system responds first. Exactly.
Okay. I can't argue with that scientific damn fact. Whatever. Okay. So
and then all the thoughts to support that can come
up and change it.
Exactly.
Alter that emotion as well. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that. So if I know that I want to live to 104, I want to be as active and healthy as long as possible. And one of my priorities, like you said, what's your goals, and then go from that. One of my priorities is to live, enjoy every day, because life is short. Anything can happen tomorrow. And so I want to be happy as much as possible during the day. That could be my cup that you sent me, that I love, my sparkle cup, right? It could be talking with you. It could be my meditating with you and all the stuff that we do in the mornings, our healings and stuff. It could be that tree. It could be, my new computer. Love my new computer. So happy with my new computer. It could be anything that brings me joy. Petting my cat, talking to my kids, any of that. The more time I spend in joy, I feel like I'm raising my vibration. Because my energy is higher, I'm in joy longer. Things are happening just amazingly, just happening and showing up, and less stress and overwhelm and worry. Yeah. So that is, I'm just talking.
You're looking okay, so your actions are triggers, right? But you are deciding, somewhere along the way, you made the decision that I'm going to engage in things that can bring me joy. Now, you can engage in those very same things and not necessarily feel a darn thing. You can be busy in your mind. And so you're not really in the moment. You're not really. So it takes a decision and it's joy isn't the action, isn't all of these things. Joy is truly the opportunity to just simply settle into yourself and go, God, it feels good to be alive. Here I am. I'm petting my cat, and for some reason, this feels like heaven. It's just being able to sit in that and really allow yourself a full experience of it. It's like eating a wonderful meal. It's like taking the deepest breath. It is the experience of being alive. I believe that it was Joseph Campbell that talked about what we are truly after isn't all the experiences we keep running around saying that we want to do or have done. It's the experience of being alive. It's the feeling of being alive that we truly miss and yearn for and crave. So any action that we do, we're always alive. It's always right there in front of us. We're just going, over here,
Yeah, what's
you
next?
know?
Yeah.
Exactly. So, so the more, like you, exactly like you said, the more that we can tap into that and dip into that presence that is always there, and it is always joy, because the feeling of being alive is always vital, unless of course you're suffering from depression and so on. But even then, to not be afraid to feel it is a gift that we can also give ourselves, to find that we will survive the feeling of feeling it. So much of when we are down and depressed even is about trying not to feel it. So we're pushing it down even farther. We're creating a very chronic condition in that sense, right? Because we're not really allowed to feel those things or admit that, you know, and so on in our society generally. So, but yeah, so it's really about, you and I have talked about this, about increasing our capacity to feel joy and to sustain it. So increasing our capacity for joy, in other words, the amount of joy, the degree of joy or bliss or the ecstatic feelings that we can have, that ecstasis. And it's the capacity to sustain that for a period of time that, you know, so for instance, many years ago, it occurred to me that, you know, I feel such a capacity for joy. I feel so much joy. I have that. Why doesn't everybody have that? And then immediately one of my council members said, in my, you know, my
In your
guidance,
head?
right, said, great. And why do you go watch a show right after that? Or why do you get busy doing something that, you know, really doesn't need to be done? And I was like, what? And I thought, and I thought, well, you know, that's true. It's like,
Why don't you stay there?
right,
Right.
exactly. Why do I interrupt that process? Because it's almost like it's so much that I can't sustain it.
Exactly.
So once I realized that, I was like, okay, I have to work on my capacity, not so much my capacity to feel it, but to sustain it. Because if I want more joy, if I want, how is it that I could say that I want to be happy and I want to be blissful and I want to live in a state of nirvana, just say, right? But I can't sustain the damn state. Right. So
we find it and then it's gone in a minute, and then, or we get up and move, like exactly
we get
what
up
you
and we
just
move.
said.
Like, for instance, I mean, because it feels good, it gives us energy, and we go do something with it. It's as if we're not allowed to be. We have to, as we get that little shot of whatever it is, and we go use that energy. That's great, but don't forget to
come back to that.
Sit with it, sit in it. Just make yourself sit. Hold your feet to the fire. Sit and you get, oh my God, it feels so good. I'm gonna burst. Good. Just feel that burst. Feel it. You'll live. You know, just see what happens.
I love that. So that's momentum, right? And the more momentum we have, like at the top of the hill, we're rolling down the hill. The more momentum we get, the easier it is, and it does take practice.
It does. It absolutely does.
Yeah. We absolutely cannot just go out and sit underneath a tree like Buddha and actually become that quiet mentality. Like I've been doing it for decades and I'm still not good at it. And in fact, until you and I started doing our morning healings together, you sending me energy, talking to my angels, you know, going back and forth, and I'm knowing that it's not just me, and I'm feeling the energy. I'm feeling my hands warm. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling some energy moving around, and it's been, you know, a few months now we've been doing that. Mm-hmm. And I can go into that completely calm state very quickly. And you're absolutely right. There are a lot, I'd say at least 50% of the time, I am ready to get up and go do something. It's like, okay, just sit, relax. Like today, I was like, oh, I'm not moving. Like I'm not even moving. I'm going to sit right here. I'm not getting out of it. Like, let's just see what gets me out of it. Yeah. I don't even know what got me out of it, but all of a sudden I did come out of it. But it was so cool to spend more time in this. As women, this is a gender thing I'm putting on it as my opinion. We have so much in our head. We have so many roles: mother, sister, wife, spouse, lover, friend, soul sister, daughter,
employee,
aunt, owner, CEO, step manager. Like we have so much in our head.
So many roles.
So many roles, so many hats, so many roles. And so it's hard. And I'm going to cancel those words. We have the thoughts in our society that we should do so much that it's hard. It could be a challenge or take practice to slow down and do that. Just like it is if we want to go to the gym every day. Just like if I want tone, it's going to take practice. This is going to happen until I go to the gym every day. So why do we think that our spirituality or our connectedness or law of attraction or anything is going to happen overnight? Everything takes practice. And when it feels good, do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. When I was a kid, I was an only child, and I was often at the dinner table with adults, and my parents entertained a lot. And so I was privy to a lot of adult conversation. I don't think I said much, but so that really helped me in terms of, just forming my mind and so on. But what it did also do for me is that I recognized that the lives of adults were very complicated and just seemed to be all over the map. And a lot of their struggles were around the expectations of others and, doing things in the right way and, not being able to be honest with certain people, like their public or their clients or their customers or their parents or their friend or their best friend or whatever. It just seemed like there was a lot of juggling of behavior and intention and all sorts of things. And it just seemed like, and then there was the career and the family and the kids and the this and the that. And it just seemed so complicated to me that as I sat there and I listened to the complexity of their lives, fearing that even if I was an adult, I don't think I could do life like that, nor did I want to. That was the thing. I really felt an aversion to being that trapped by every aspect of my life. And it felt like an entrapment, like I was going to grow up into a life that had all these, like these restrictions and rules. And it felt claustrophobic for me, psychologically claustrophobic. So I realized that I knew that if I could figure out, like in City Slickers, where Jack, Billy Crystal asks Jack Palance, the dude guy, what's the secret of life, and
Yeah.
Jack Palance holds up one finger and Billy Crystal goes, what, a finger? And Jack Palance goes, no, one thing. I love that. I never forgot that particular line in that particular scene because that reflected exactly what I felt as a child. I wanted to find the one thing that would calibrate all the other things. So if I just tended to that one thing, I knew the rest would work out. In other words, I wouldn't have to worry too much about what's going on with all these other things, the different roles that we play in life or the different businesses or the different friendships or the whatever. If I could just tend to the one thing that determined all of that, my life would be much simpler. I could see myself doing that. That's when I decided I wanted to be a monk so I could help people.
Because that would be one thing.
That would be one thing, and it would take care of all the rest of it, right?
So that is very enlightened for you as a young girl to come across and to even think of. So right there, it's already blowing minds as well. But I want to go back to the gist of it because you are a very special person and you did come to that. And I do believe that you're here on this planet for a reason. And I want to add, we all are for sure. And I want to add that thanks to Walt Disney and to Cinda frickin' Rella, we believe that one thing is a partner in life that's going to change and make it all better.
Right. Yeah.
After 3 of my one things, I can tell you that's not true. And that is not accurate. So I love that you put that down to one thing is going to take care of everything. I was not enlightened thinking that. that came from enlightenment for you and a feeling of controlling your emotions and not being able all over the place with all these other, like, I totally
No,
get that.
it just came from observing adults. I wasn't
Yeah.
outside playing with other kids my own age, so I was.
But even if you're sitting at the table, I observed adults a lot. I had my best girlfriend's family. We had 6 kids and their family, and I observed, none of that led me to believe, like, to create something in my life. I still didn't know I was creating. I was still creating by default, by whatever happens next feels good. Let's just do that. Or he likes me. Okay, let's do that. Okay, she likes me. Let's go there.
I went through years of that, as well. But here's the thing too, is that because as a kid, I realized that even if I was a monk, like right away, like one of these enlightened children, my parents would not take me seriously, nor would their friends take me seriously. So I realized even then that I would have to grow up, and I had a training period, that life would present a training period for me to have experiences, so that once I started, helping people as a monk, right, I would know what the hell I was talking about. Right. It wouldn't just be theory.
True.
It wouldn't be
you can't,
a priest who
marriage
never.
counseling when you've never been married is very weird.
Exactly. So then I suddenly realized, I remember the moments I went, uh-oh. I'm not sure I want to have those experiences based on, and it's like, okay, but I have faith. I'm supposed to help people. So I imagine I'll survive it, and then I just kind of, let it go and went, all right, whatever. But of those experiences, I already also knew that I would probably get married and have, I didn't want to have children because I didn't want to give birth. I thought that was going to be a terrible experience. So I wanted to adopt, right, and raise my little rainbow family. And then I would, at some point, move on. I don't know if I figured my husband would die or we'd get a divorce, because, expats, they divorce all the time. So that was a normal thing. And then I would go live on a mountain and become a monk and do my real work in life at that point. And it's kind of interesting that that's sort of how my life turned out.
Yes. Miss Shasta, Mount Shasta.
Right.
Is your mountain, and married. Tell me
Twice.
about your relationships.
Twice.
Okay. Married twice.
Both long-term relationships, long-term marriages, wonderful men. It's just, I don't think I ever saw myself. I don't think that was ever going to do it for me, though. Partnership, great, but I have always really been driven to dive deep into God and spirituality and what God means, and I'm just using the God word to encompass whatever.
Right.
Yeah. And I just have that's always driven me. And I never really, when I would imagine that in my life, I never imagined a partner with me with that.
But if you had someone driven as well.
Yeah, then it would be a joint venture. And I'm just, no, it's not. Yeah. Well, put it this way. There was a time in my life where that was something I wanted, because for whatever reason, it was good and I wanted that. I feel absolutely complete with that. I feel like it's one of those things, if you've been to Italy and you've lived there and it's just wonderful, and now, you're ready for something else. You don't want to live in Italy anymore,
Yeah.
It's not that Italy's bad. It's just that, yeah, it was great. And now I really want to live in Germany.
Go check out Greece. Yeah.
Yeah, right. For me, it's the same thing. It's beautiful. And I want to dive so deeply into this life that I'm not interested in doing anything else, so I get very focused.
Yes, you do get very focused. I love that. Okay. So marriages have given you business, being an entrepreneur. You've had tons of experiences with, careers and the houses and interior decorating and flipping and growing up traveling. Just growing up being all over the place.
Yeah. I lived in I think by the time I was 18 or 19, I had lived in 8 different countries and gone to just as many schools or more. It was, I wouldn't trade that experience, but I wouldn't recommend it necessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so all of this has brought you to this wisdom place of really loving your life. I mean, ever since I've known you, you've loved your life. Even when you're going through it, like we have the contrast, you're still loving life because you have that faith. How did you receive that faith? If somebody's going through something right now, like just horrible, like maybe they just were abused by their spouse, or going through a divorce, or a loss of a loved one, how do you find that faith and will to know that it's going to get better?
Yeah, it's really tough. It hasn't always been like it is for me right now. And at any moment of any day, it doesn't need to. We always have permission to listen to the news and get really upset and really depressed and hopeless, right? In my 20s, I was suicidal. It was building since childhood, and I couldn't see myself in the world. I couldn't see a way to be in the world. A lot of different factors went into that. But I remember one day, and I'm going to answer your question. I remember one day I was really struggling. I was like, if I don't get help in some way, the next step is going to be something I was just getting closer and closer there. And I remember just really inside myself and out loud, I just said, if I have a guardian angel, if there is a God, if I really need you guys to step up right now. I need some reason to keep going. And Jennifer, in that moment, my bedroom, it filled with golden light. It just filled with golden light. And I had the words came to me exactly like this: hold on. It'll all make sense, but just hold on. Keep holding on. And so to answer your question, I was at such the end of my rope at that point that I had nothing to lose but to hold on to that experience. And then the next day to hold on to the memory of that experience. And then the next day to hold on to the memory of that experience. It was so real and so timely. I just asked the question, and then I had that, the light, and then the words, and then, and what followed the words was, I felt so calm. I felt so like I was just filled with hope. And so I knew in that moment that that it may go away the next day. That was my big fear. I don't think I ever returned quite to the feeling I had that day of that hopelessness, ever again. It wasn't easy after that, but I never quite returned to that. And I held on for dear life to the message of that. So I think that if there is something that is offering us hope, if there is someone or some guidance, I prefer inner guidance. I prefer to just hold on as tightly as possible to that inner guidance, because other people and so on can change. But if you can just somehow take whatever light comes to you in those moments when we ask for it, because oftentimes when we ask for it, something will happen, and we can negate it, we can deny it, we can pretend it's not important. But if you really are at the end of your rope, you will hold on to it for dear life, like it's the only life, like life raft you have. And just have faith in that. And no matter what you go through, the next day or whatever, just know that just keep breathing, one breath after the next, one foot in front of the next. And have faith and pray, and don't ever give up on yourself. Don't ever give up on yourself. And one day it will all make sense, But we have to do our work. We have to actually try to help ourselves and do whatever we can. It's hard to imagine what we can do, but just do what's in front of you to do. You don't have to know the next 10 steps. You just have to know the step you can take right now. And just lean into it and have faith. It's really all, when we're in that state, it's really all we have the bandwidth to do, and it takes something to do that, just to do the step in front of us. Just do that, lean into it.
Yes.
You don't have to solve all the problems. You don't have to know everything. Just know.
And we
where you
can't
are.
know
And we can't.
everything from that space.
No matter how happy and healthy we are, we can't. It's really about surrendering to the moment. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. And then going back to law of attraction, thank you so much, Petalyn, for sharing your honesty and your history with us. Like, you know, it's not easy to say that you're at the depths of that low point in your life. So I really appreciate you being honest with us.
It wasn't personal. Clearly, they had something to teach me. I did open the invitation.
You did. You let them in.
You know, let me know what it is to be human, right?
Yep. This is human. So with the law of attraction aspect of all of that and the frequency of all of that, there's a level of emotion, there's a level of frequency. And I think that when The Secret went mainstream and visualization got popular and mantras got popular and all of that kind of stuff got popular, people are forgetting that there's a spectrum. And so we're going from wherever you're at today to the top of the spectrum, and it's impossible to go from there to there. Yeah. We have to just go one little step ahead. So in my money coaching, when people are coming to me, normally they're looking for help when they're not at the best places in their life, right?
Right.
And so they want to be able to either get out of debt or just get organized with their finances or trust their business partner or stay married. A lot of them are, at the brink of divorce due to spending and finances and whatever's happening. Yeah. So I always say we just want to get to one step where we're at. Just hang on to that one step, then the next step, then the next step. Yeah. And then I just want you to be satisfied. Once we can actually be satisfied, then we can build on that, going up the ladder in the frequencies.
Well, and that's the thing, right? So a couple of points here, because for me, it's always been about how do I get from one place to the next? I mean, that's been my whole life. It's like, I experienced this. How did I get from one place to the next? How do I do that? How do I do that? Because that's the thing that confuses everybody, right? It's like, I get where I have to go. I'm just not sure how I can do that. And here's the thing. So this is going to sound really, really funky at first, but when you really grasp how much power you have, it's like it just hits you like a 2x4. When we realize that because of our minds, because of the thoughts that we've had and the emotions that we've had, and so the things that we've chosen to do, whether to be safe or to be risky or whatever it may be, set into motion a set of trajectories that inevitably had a particular outcome. We did that. Nobody did that for us. We actually did that. We created that. That is the power of our capacity to create. So it's evidence that of what we think, how we feel, and the trajectory that those thoughts and feelings set us on, the choices that we make attract whatever it is that has come. Now, we may not like what we've attracted. It doesn't mean, however, that you haven't been using an incredible amount of psychic and thinking and emotional power in order to create those things. When we really grasp that, then we can go, well, holy crap. If I can do that, because obviously I can create, right? Then I can create something good, because it's not my incapacity to create. It's my capacity to focus on what I actually want and stop focusing on what I don't want. That is the shift, right? Instead of turning the dial to the left, turn it to the right. Same dial, right? Do you see what I'm saying?
Totally. And we are stuck to the left on what's here now instead of turning the dial to the right on what could be here now.
And we're believing that we don't have the capacity to create because we're not getting what we want. But that's wrong.
Correct.
We have been creating. We have tremendous power. That is your power on exhibition. So, when you realize that it is my own thoughts, it is my own emotions and feelings, it is my own choices based on those thoughts and feelings and my own belief system that has created the life that I have now, then you go to, you realize that there's nothing there's nothing broken about the equipment. It's just what side of where the dial is pointed, right? So then you can kind of get into, it's like, okay, my God, I'm pretty freaking powerful. I'm pretty freaking magical. I don't like what I created, but I created it. Okay, so what do I have to do in order to shift my feelings about myself or my focus? And so much self-esteem goes down the drain because we believe that we're doing something wrong or that we don't have the power to do these things. And once you realize that you can actually stop the hemorrhaging of our self-esteem, because we actually do, we have been, and we can, then all that self-esteem and energy can go into, well, if I have that kind of power, then all I really need to do is just redirect it. So, and nobody else really has the power to do these things to me. I can do them myself, right? Yeah. So that's the upside about, well, okay, I guess I'm completely responsible. Well, the upside of that is, yes, and you have the power to do what you actually want. Nobody created this life that you don't like for you. You did that. That means that you also have the capacity to create the life that you want. And nobody can give that to you.
That's
anyway.
The tough one. That's the tough one for people to believe, right? Because it's so much easier to say it's his fault, their fault, parents' fault, society's fault, everybody else's fault, instead of looking at, when I came into the self world, I was 29, and that's when I lost my kids. And my therapist was amazing with the universal laws.
Yeah.
And she gave me a bypass and said, the very first law is you get what you attract and what you want.
That's hard to swallow.
And she's like, you can't go there right now. So just do the others for now, because you can't say that I caused that. And I can say that was in my psyche, that was blocking abundance and joy from me for many years. And I didn't know it because I'm so extroverted and so honest, thanks to my dad, and so outspoken that I thought that was happiness when I could never get to the level. I felt like I was always on that hamster wheel until I actually saw that I had that belief that I created myself. And as soon as I cleared that, which was like an instantaneous with my coach, Mevu, she helped me find that belief and then clear that, everything switched in my life. Everything switched. I found the dial. I found the dial that I actually do have control over how I think and feel and act and who I want to be.
And who we attract, right? Obviously this is not something that you would have designed into your life had you known, right?
Correct.
But the choices that we make in terms of who we attract, right? And and whether we stay or don't stay. But because we come out of the womb, basically we hit the ground running, it's not like we take a course on how to live and then go live, right? It's like we're sort of learning on the job. So we have the challenges that we have, and to be able to give ourselves a lot of compassion, because it's kind of a first time experience. We don't really get a repeat unless we do.
Right. But this personality, this body, this time and life, this everything, this is it.
Right.
Who we are at this moment. So we have a couple minutes left. I think 2 minutes left. So how do we want to wrap this up and put a cute little bow on it? Let me ask you this. First of all, we have to know we create our own reality. If you don't believe that, let's just play with it for a little while.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't want to sit here and pretend like, okay, well, if I want to live, 200 years, I can make that happen. I don't want to sit here and pretend that, if a storm comes, your house might not fall down or whatever. It isn't about the extenuating circumstances. It's really about our attitude towards them. And we have complete jurisdiction over that, how we choose to have those experiences, how we choose to go through those experiences. And that is what sets the frequency. Always think in terms of what is the energy signature that I'm putting out with this. It doesn't mean you won't get pissed off sometimes and so on, but when you get pissed off, you can't ever again, once you're really tuned into that, you can actually just really enjoy being pissed off for a minute. And then you can take a deep breath and you can go, okay, how do I use this? How do I use this to raise my frequency in some way?
I love that. Sometimes
it's constant.
we do that.
It's constant.
Yep. Anger is easy for us to access in this society. So sometimes anger does get us to the next thing, which is excitement. Like we can go from anger to satisfaction to excitement because that is acceptable in this society.
Purposing anger is a really neat trick. You know, anger feels a lot like determination. When we are determined, we are focused. And anger has a way of focusing our attention. So we can always repurpose anger into determination.
All right, we got it. We're repurposing anger into determination. Petalyn, you know you got to come back because we didn't even get into a quarter of what we wanted to talk about today. So we were going to have you back. I want to talk about our spirituality. I want to talk about channeling. I want to talk about our angels. I want to talk about all of that wonderful stuff. Thank you. Bless you. Love you.
Thank you so much, honey. I love you.
Love you too. Rock My Finances, y'all. Come back for more Law of Attraction.
Woo-hoo.
We appreciate you joining us today, and don't forget to subscribe to the Rock My Finances YouTube channel for more engagement and bonus content. Tell me, what is your money story? Let's find out with Jennifer, 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific, every Thursday right here on K4HD Radio and Talk4 TV. It's not about the zeros, it's about the F word, feelings. Feelings Jennifer can't wait to explore with you next week. Until then, let's all say, I rock my finances.